Good morning. Would like to call the February 26, 2015 Audit Committee meeting to order.
Councilmember Juneau,
Yeah.
Councilmember Burt,
Here.
and Councilmember Williams.
Here.
Now we have a quorum. I'd ask everybody to please stand real quick for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks, everyone, for being here. Let's move to item number 2, new business.
Yes, I would like to nominate Charlie Burt as the chairman for the audit committee.
I'll second that.
Ms. Williams nominated Charlie Burt for the Audit Committee chairman with a second from Mr. Juneau.
Now we'll have a vote on that. Councilmember Juneau,
Yes.
Councilmember Burt,
Yes.
Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Let the record reflect that Councilman Charlie Burt will now preside over the Audit Committee as the chairman. I'd also like to make a motion to nominate Ms. Councilmember Williams as the vice chairman of the Audit Committee. Can I get a second?
I'll second that.
Okay, the vote on the vice chairman, Councilmember Juneau,
Yes.
Councilmember Burt,
Yes.
and Councilmember Williams.
Yes.
Thank you. Once again, just like to thank everybody for being here prior to the scheduled council meeting. Based on some information and what I've seen in the past, this may be one of a few, or I should say, lack of some audit meetings in the past. And then hopefully moving forward, we can continue these on a monthly basis and make these meetings available to the public. Before we get started, I'd just like to make a few comments in regards to the actual audit committee. First of all, I'd like to thank my colleagues for allowing us to, or myself to serve on this committee. It's an honor and a privilege to be here, and we're going to do everything we can to make sure we're providing the information to the public in a timely fashion, and also reporting back anything that comes before us. A few things before we get started, just a couple things, the goals and purpose of this department. The purpose of this internal audit department, or the committee, I should say, is to really validate and test the internal controls of the parish government. That's the purpose. That's what the ordinance says that the internal auditor and the committee will do. And that's what we're going to fulfill. And I want to go on record to say this. This department is not on a witch hunt, okay? We're not out trying to go after people. But if things are brought to the attention of this department or this committee, and we feel that it's necessary to go after and investigate, we will do that. But this department is not on a witch hunt. We're just trying to follow the rules that were set forth in an ordinance on how this department is going to operate. And last, before I close out, in addition to any policies in this ordinance, we also want the public to also come forward, and we're going to respond to the public as needed. It's not going to be me making a decision. We're going to make decisions on these as a group. A couple quick things. I just want to go over, for those that may not be aware of what the internal auditor's responsibilities are. The internal auditor shall conduct financial and performance audits of the parish, including its departments, agencies, in accordance with generally accepted governmental auditing standards by the United States Comptroller General. Such audits shall consist of individual financial transactions, contracts, and franchises of the parish, and shall generally audit the financial and accounting systems and procedures administered by office, department, division, and agency. or any political subdivision and organization which receives funds from this parish under direct or indirect control. The auditor shall submit to the audit committee for information only an audit work plan, which we're going to discuss today. The auditor, by law, shall have access at all times to examine and inspect all books, records, files, papers, documents, and information stored on computer records or in other files or records relating to all financial affairs of every office, department, division, or political subdivision that the parish has or receives funds from. This is very important. Should anyone fail to produce any accounts, books, records, files, or other papers requested by the auditor may request council approval to search for and take any book, paper, or record in the custody of that person or public official may be necessary to conduct an audit or perform audit duties. That's ordinance number 14-158 that was passed in 2014, outlining the duties and responsibilities of the Internal Audit Department. So with that said, I would like to, first of all, any comments or questions from the table?
No.
From the audience? I'd like to move to item number 3.
Update by Ms. Lakeisha Days, the internal auditor, regarding ongoing audits and future audit plans.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. As I mentioned earlier, we're new to this audit committee. We're still trying to learn some of the ins and outs as to what this committee has done in the past, what this committee will do now, and what this committee or department will do in the future. And we're working on that plan as we speak. And again, we invite the public or any other public officials to provide input on what they see or what they think may be of part of an audit plan. So with that, I will turn it over to Ms. Daisy, and she's got a laundry list of stuff to go over. Ms. Daisy?
Thank you, Mr. Burke. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I guess we can start out by first going over, since I've taken over the office, I know a lot of people are accustomed to some of the reporting or reports that the previous internal auditor used to deliver on a monthly or annually basis. And there'll be some of those reports that we will continue to keep, such as the travel expense and mileage report, as well as the cash disbursement report. Some of the other reports, even though they used to be done, we may do them in a different way. Our approach to auditing the parish is basically we want to be able to try and touch as many entities within the parish as possible. So the plan is to develop an annual audit plan so that everyone is aware which audits will be performed during that year. If we have findings or some areas that need to be corrected, those departments will go on the next year's audit plan to follow up to make sure that they are doing or they've implemented policies, procedures, or made corrective actions to whatever findings that they have. Some of the, I have already kind of, I guess, in my tenure of being here, I've already kind of started auditing towards that approach. Most of the audits that I have conducted, and this is just, you guys have a copy of this, the single sheet would be the audits that I have been either asked to look in or to perform. Majority of them, well, not majority of them, let me take that back. I have the civil service, the East Bank levy, and the PPG retirement audit. Those 3 are still ongoing. As far as the Ramelli janitorial service, that was due to our grass cutting contract, the mosquito control contract, and the permit employee termination. Those audits are no longer, we didn't need to go any further. Once we started our investigation, there's something, the administration made a change, or in terms of the employee that was terminated, there was not sufficient documentation to continue to go further. But those are listed there just so you have a background of what was done in the past. As I stated, the East Bank Levy project, that's still an ongoing project. It is an enormous project, one that is going to take time. It's not just one company that's involved. We have multiple contractors that we have to look into, different contracts. There was a pending suit that also was taking place within there. So there's a lot of different factors that made that East Bank Levy project go from being just a general audit of review to expand, and the scope of the audit has just grown. It's been a while since we have done anything in there, but going forward, that may coincide with what we're doing as far as with the borrow pits. It may have some relations to it as I've been reviewing the borrow pit issues that have been going on for this year. The internal audit department, that was just the audit that I had done coming into the office. I did an audit on my own department just to make sure that everything was okay, and so far everything was. I didn't have any issues as it related to that. So for 2015, we can project that the civil service, East Bank Levy, and the PPG retirement audit will continue in 2015. So if we bring those down, and we have 2 additional ones that have, well, one is started and one is just something that was brought to my attention. We have the borrow pits, which we've been looking into, and then just last week I had someone to bring up an issue regarding the overtime pay regulations and how it is, there may be some violations as far as like federal law. So I haven't looked into that. Like I said, they just bought the information. I'm not sure if that is even an audit, but at any rate, I do collect whatever information is brought to me. I acknowledge, so no one complaint or no one information goes unnoticed, unheard. It is just in a list of things that I'm waiting on or trying to get time to get to. As you all know, it's just me, but recently we have conducted some interviews, and finally we've narrowed down a candidate that we would like to extend an offer to. So that'll be one of the next steps, and hopefully that will kind of leave some of the pressure that has been on me within this office.
Real quick, Ms. Daisy,
Yes.
you mentioned the overtime issues that someone brought to your attention.
Uh-huh.
Is that something that normally filters through a departmental manager or a director and then down to your department, or is that something that comes directly to you?
In this situation, it would normally go to the department, but because this situation is more of a regulatory issue and not so much a department, because it may affect several departments depending on how the law reads. The person was just funneling me some case law, and like I said, I haven't had a chance to read it to see if it would, or if we are even set up like that. There's many factors to determine, how that should be handled. So before I would advise that person to go to the next level, I wanna make sure that I'm clear as to what exactly is going on. One of the things that I had provided you all, before was kinda like my example of a audit plan, which was a brief example description of the types of audits that we can perform. This is just, this was something that I created, when I first started, just to, make everyone aware of the type of audits that the internal audit department can perform. It's not just, constantly looking at payroll or going into the finance department or, let's see, items that they had, just the travel and expenses. We need to look at more in-depth of, items that may be affecting our budget, may be affecting our infrastructure. So the approach that this committee has agreed to take, is we're gonna set up a plan so that everybody's on the same page. We'll know, we're still gonna listen to and take comments from, the administration, the council, as well as the public. But those requests, once the audit program has been made, those audits will be considered what we will say is a special request or a special audit. We'll look at those to see how, to determine whether, it's worth us moving, or rescheduling the plan that we already have in place, due to the fact that, one, we're still limited on the resources that we have, and, is it something that's feasible that we need to attack now? Not that it's not important, it's just the priority of that project. So I just wanted to make everyone aware that even though you'll be getting, a projected audit plan, that plan is subject to change with the special requests, but not all special requests may change that audit. Then, I guess, the other thing to note as far as, some of the things that I've dealt with, and I won't go through this, but, I'll explain what I do. Anytime someone, either from the public or the administration or even the council, brings me information, I'll kind of do like a quick assessment as to, is that something that we need to look into because it's myself? But I have also kept documentation of everything or every issue that has been bought. And this is like a 7-page list of just items and documents that I have concerning issues, that we have in the parish. It's useful because, one, in creating my audit plan, I have something to go back to as a reference to refer. I also have some preliminary background because the background was already brought to me, so I don't really have to do much investigating on that. But, what I wanna make clear to everyone, this office, and I've stated that with the previous administration, this office is, the purpose of the internal auditor, as Mr. Burt said, we're not to go on a witch hunt, but we're also, this office is not for anyone's political gain as well. So, we're gonna be as biased as possible when it comes down to these audits. There is no one-sided. This office remains neutral of both the council and the administration. So when we perform our audits, we're performing them from that point of view, a neutral standpoint. There is no influence from one side or the other. That's one of the things that, coming in, I heard a lot that, the internal audit is influenced by the council. And that's not so, because this office is independent of both of those areas. So, like Mr. Burr said, just to chime in on what he was saying, we basically want to be transparent so that the public knows that someone is looking into the issues that are going on within this parish, and that we are concerned on a number of levels of the things that I know I see on a day-to-day basis, and as well as the things that I hear. So your complaints have not fallen on deaf ears. It's just sometimes it can be overwhelming.
I'd like to add to that real quick. Also, in addition to some of the auditing or investigations that the Internal Audit Department does, we're also here to help, to fix things that may be broken. Ultimately, we're supposed to find the flaws in internal controls, and if we can put measures in place to correct those, I think in the end, the parish itself will be in a much better position. So I just want to make note of that as well.
Right, yeah, and you're absolutely right. We're sometimes considered as management's consultant because we go in to, we're here to work with the, management to make sure that everything is in place. So when the external auditors come in, we don't have any findings or we don't have any issues because we've worked together to eradicate all of those issues before it became a problem. So that's the whole purpose of the internal audit, is to just make sure that this parish and its subsidiaries are functioning properly so that when we are audited by whether it be the legislative auditors or our financial auditors, we are doing what we need to do. And if for some reason there's a finding, then we all can work together to make sure that, we have things put in place to prevent these things from occurring. One of the things, I guess, that's going to be big is making sure that policies and procedures are in place in order to help people to be held accountable for things. So as we're going, that's one of the things that we're going to be looking for, because I get asked that question a lot. Well, what's the policy or what's the procedure? So you'll know that once we've left that area from testing, that is one of the things that we're going to stress and make sure that they put in a policy or procedure. If one are not already in place, we may just need to update it. We're not saying that there's not any. We're just saying that these are some of the things that we're going to be looking into when we go and do our testing.
Ms. Stacy, just so everybody's clear, the audit plan that we're going to put together is going to test the current administration or departmental's current process and procedures. We're not making this up on our own. We're going to test what's in place and then make recommendations based on those tests, correct?
That is I don't know about how many folds that question is, but that is one step within, I guess, the process. As you know, with the, we're currently working on the audit with the borrow pit. Well, the policy for that is our ordinance. The procedures, well, that would vary based on each pit. So to answer that question, you have to look at what audit you're working on to make that determination. But one of the things that I plan to have is an audit program in place prior to going out and doing the audit. And basically that's to make sure that we cover all of the areas within that area that we're looking in. So most audits have a program that they follow. You can go online, get them, you can purchase them, you can write them yourself. I've written many of them. But it's a set of standards that you will go in and make your review on. So again, that kind of takes away that, oh, you're on a witch hunt. No, here are the criteria in which we're looking at, and this is what we're testing on. So, like you said, everything is transparent, everything is upfront. No one is going on a witch hunt. We're just here to make sure that everything is functioning and working properly.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I think that is all that I need to touch on as far as the plan. We all will get together at some point, the committee and myself, and develop what plans, and hopefully we'll have a mid-year going forward plan, of what we're gonna do for the remainder of the year. I know that these guys are still trying to get acclimated into their roles and learning a lot. And so, we're gonna be working, to develop this plan and have it published so that everyone will know what it is that we plan to do going forward.
I'd like to ask Mr. Cormier too, if the administration has any ideas or thoughts or anything that they would like included in that plan. Please feel free to participate as well.
No, the administration is just basically interested in legality of going forward with the, proper procedures, in other words, that would be in place, and trying to implement those procedures at necessary times.
Thank you.
Okay, there's one concern I guess I have going forward with this, and I guess I wanna make sure that everyone is clear that when we make a request, I guess the experience that I've been having is that we may put in a request for some information, give the individuals a time frame in order to respond, no response. May follow up with them and ask them, when can I get this information? No response. So if we're gonna have departments or individuals not responding to the request of the internal auditor, one, the internal audit department does not put in public record requests. We do not do subpoenas. So my question, I guess, for the committee is something you may want to think about is, how are we going to hold these departments or individuals accountable for providing the information that we need in order to do the job at hand?
I'd like to address that. Well, according to the ordinance, they're supposed to supply what you request.
Right.
So I guess it's just a matter of holding their feet to the fire, and I'm not sure whose job it would be to make them accountable and to provide you with that information, whether it's the administration or whether it's us or yourself. I guess that's something that we'll need to look into going forward, because I know you've had some issues with getting the proper information in order for you to do your job. And we're here to support you.
Thank you.
I think we probably need to see what's in place now with the administration, and if there's nothing in place, we need to establish something that's comparable to both parties.
Okay.
And maybe we can table that, after this meeting at a later time, but I agree.
Also, I think once we get together and give us a couple more months, we can work as a group. But at this moment, we kind of like,
Right.
we've been from slide to side. So once we get together and we can communicate as one,
Right.
I think it'll be done.
Okay, thank you. I don't have any other issues right now to address.
Okay. Any more comments or questions from the table? Mr. President? All right, no more questions or comments from the table. We'd just like to open it up to the public to please feel free to come forward, and please state your name and address for the record. And once again, thank you all for being here so early.
Yes, my name is Warren Lawrence. I live 120 Timber Canal Lane, Myrtle Grove, or Port Sulphur, really, 70083. One question I had was that I know the last thing that just came up about requests and not getting the information. I filed numerous public requests, never got the information. And in what I just read just now on this handbook and everything, I don't know if this audit department is a sounding ground for the public. It doesn't say it in the handbook, but when you can't get information out of a department, then we have to go somewhere. I've come to the council, hadn't gotten it. I've gone to the previous, and previous is done. We're moving forward. That's all I'm saying is, if Lakeisha's asking for information, first of all, I would suggest that she put it in writing and all of you be copied, so that's a tracking system to say what date it was information, who was asked for it, and because if you don't have that tracking and it's all done verbally, you know, I've seen so much paperwork lost. They said you haven't submitted the public request form. I've got copies of the request. I have them sign off that they received it and still didn't get the information. And, you know, I think we have, my comments would be basically, and I made this to the past audit committee, was that I think we are expecting this audit committee to be an inspector general. First of all, there's no staff involved with this department, to be honest with you, that I see can do what is needed. Whether you're going to increase staff and give an investigation, you say do investigations. There's no way two people are going to do this. You know, I've done enough investigations to see what has not been done. Gave that information to the previous administration, the previous council. Forget about it. You know, it has not been done. It is not up to the audit department to require that ordinances to be enforced. But when a public comes in, I think I should be able to write to the audit department and expect something in writing back. That has not been done in the past, and I'm hoping that we change that.
Mr. Lawrence, you can rest assured that with this audit committee, we're going to do our best, and we're going to make sure that everybody that comes to this internal audit department is provided with the information in a timely fashion.
And one other thing, when you're getting together and forming this plan, I would suggest you include the public. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Mr. Lawrence, I just have one thing to share with you with that information, just so you'll understand. We, as far as the internal audit department, do not do public record requests.
I know that.
Right. So, no, I just wanted to make it clear and put on record. We advise everyone to go through our legal department in order to make that request. If it's an ongoing audit, we may not be able to provide you that information at the time, but, you know, I have no problem with saying that, you know, we're working on it. I've received information, I haven't received information without getting into details.
Right.
So, just so you'll know that sometimes those answers that you may be looking for may just be vague.
Right, and in the past, we'd have really appreciated that answer.
Oh.
That we're looking into it.
Okay, right.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Lawrence.
Michelle Wilcox, 112 Hunt Street. I would just like, I wanted to come up here and kind of clear the air a little bit. The audit department previously was no help at all. We never got answers. We never got public records requests. We never even got answers when we were at the meeting. I know most of y'all have heard this, but I did get information that there was documents that needed to be secured. They were not secured. I called President Cormier and told him, and in turn, went and took the internal auditor out there to secure these documents. Since then, I've been called everything from climbing all over government buildings to this, to that, to whatever. If the documents would have been secure, we wouldn't have had this problem. However, the reason that people call me is because they've never had anybody to look into it. They've been unanswered. I brought it to the president first, and then to the internal auditor, following procedure. I've been called Spider Woman and whatever. I have not violated any law or rule doing this. Every document that has passed through this council is either public record, and anything that's not public record, I don't have. What I did find, I gave to Miss Daisy. She was with me. Anything that was found, and I can tell you from the ruckus that no one wanted it to be found. And that's not my concern. We need money for this council. Anything that brings money to this administration to help our parish and protect our citizens, it's going to be done. I will bring it to anybody that I have to. But we need an open communication, and that's exactly what we've needed all this time. And again, it doesn't bother me what they say about me, but I wanted to clear the air to you all and to have it on record that I did not do anything wrong, nor did Miss Daisy. I went to Mr. Cormier first. So anything as far as that's concerned with the audit committee, it has all been brought to her, and it's all in her office. So that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Wilcox.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to verify Ms. Wilcox's comments. Ms. Wilcox did call me and reported to me that there were some papers that she thought were pertinent to the parish, at which time I told her on the phone that I would check with legal and get back with her. And I did check with our legal department, at which time they advised me that it was all right for her to go and check as long as she had someone representing the parish with her. And she did so. And when they came back, they reported that this particular building was left unattended, unlocked. It was not secure. And as a result of that, we did find out where these papers were stored. And we reported to the people, in other words, that we had to have that building secure. And so that's the status of it right now. And all the papers were returned. And we appreciate Ms. Wilcox's findings to bring us up to date on where these particular public records were in place.
Thank you, Mr. Sir? I do have the video.
We went and videoed all of the...
Anybody else?
Barry Colligan, 31975 Highway 23 in Narren. My question is regarding the ordinance that you referred to earlier, dated 2014, I think you said?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any other documentation on any other rulings that may concern the audit committee or internal auditor?
No, sir, I don't. This is the only ordinance that I found that outlines the rules and regulations of the internal audit department.
Ms. Daisy stated that she may be having some obstacles or some pushback on documents that she's requested, according to her, maybe borrow pit issues. But we're wondering, is this something that's confidential that you, with the audit committee, being able to discuss who is doing the pushback on documents requested, if we're going to be transparent?
Are you referring to permits?
No, sir. I'm referring to contracts or sales tax or anything like that.
Sales tax, I think, may have some confidentiality issues. I would have to refer to the legal department, but as far as anything else, contracts, to my knowledge, that would be public information.
All right.
But I'll refer to legal, or anybody else has any input on that?
So you can't comment on what department is blocking whatever's being
I don't know what's
asked
being
for?
blocked.
I'm sorry?
I don't know what's being blocked.
Well, I'm not saying that it really, I mean, that's
I'll
my
be-
impression of it, or getting some pushback of not getting these records.
Excuse me.
This audit committee has not had any pushback, so going forward, if there's document requests that need to be made, we're going to ensure those documents are produced. Whatever happened in the past, I really can't answer, but I've been working with Ms. Daisy hand in hand, and we've been getting everything we've asked for. And like you said, we'll go back to these ordinances. If we need to put some measures in place to force the documents, we'll do that. And we will be transparent.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Well, to kind of combat on what he's saying, we do have a couple of departments or employees that have not responded to our requests in the last month. And that has been in relation to the borrow pit, and I put in a request for some records for a previous audit that I'm working on with the retirement plan. And I asked for some records so that we can develop a plan going forward. Those 3 requests have not been answered, nor have they asked for an extension of time.
If you could resend those to me, I'll address that with the administration.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Burt,
I just want to congratulate you, sir. You haven't been here long, but transparency, I'm with you 100%. And I think you're going to do a wonderful job. You seem like you're a man that really want to do the right thing. And at the end of the day, I think you're going to do the right thing. You got everything with me, man. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate that. That's a big compliment coming from you, sir. Thank you. Do we have anybody else from the public have any comments or questions of the audit committee or the internal auditor? Yes, sir.
We're allowed to make a suggestion. I know
Absolutely.
with my investigation on just the borrow pit issue, and I suggested this in the past, but, you know, if you question whether sales taxes, et cetera, have been paid, I question whether or not we've incorporated the state. They have been left out too. So maybe instead of us doing the sales tax audit, maybe we ought to call in the state to do the sales tax audit.
Mr. Lawrence, thanks for that comment. If I'm not mistaken, we do have an ordinance on the table today to address some of the borrow pit issues. I think there were some firms that were hired to possibly look into that, but that will be addressed at the council meeting today. Thank you, sir. Is there anything else to come before this audit committee?
Yes, I have just one final thing. I forwarded you all a copy of an opinion that was received, and I guess as in relations to my position within this parish, I would like to know going forward where I stand. The extension of my probation, as you all know, according to that ruling, was illegally done. And so I want to know, I mean, I understand you all need time to review it. However, for me, it's been 8 months that I've been having to deal with the uncertainty, the pushback of the people seeming to want to get rid of me. And if this is not going to be somewhere that I'm going to be, we're planning. I'm a little lost on our planning.
Stacey, I would ask that you give this committee a little bit more time to look through that. We've been getting hit with a lot of different documents, and quite frankly, there's some things that we still don't quite understand. So I would ask that you maybe give us at least a month to work through some of these issues and some of these documents and understand it. And like Ms. Williams said, you know, we're here to support you, and we'll do what we have to do to support you.
Right. Well, I would ask that if you run across something that you have doesn't have an understanding on, could you please contact me so I can kind of help you work through those issues? Because when you're only looking at it from one side and you're not getting the whole picture, it's hard to kind of make a determination or a decision based on just one side or one piece of information.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
How you doing with your CPA degree?
How am I doing with it? We have purchased the course, as you know, back in November. It has just been me, and I have been working night and day. I have not had a chance to look at it. I am exhausted. I'm not, as far as that requirement that went on the employment letter stating that I would have to obtain it in 1 year. It was to my understanding that I could talk to the audit committee. I spoke with the audit committee. They gave me their blessings as far as giving me more time to take it. However, doing 2 and 3 jobs as one person, going home, I have a family I have to take care of. I am exhausted. This is part of the reason why I sound the way that I sound. I'm working endlessly trying to make sure that the internal office stays afloat. And that's why part of the reason I haven't really made this an issue is because I know what is right. So when you know what's right, the right will correct itself. I just continue to do the work as necessary. And I know that you all are new to this and y'all are just coming in, and you know, I have no problem with giving you time. I just don't want time to run out and then it's, oh, well, we didn't have an opportunity to discuss it, or it was never brought up. So I'm doing the same thing that I did to the previous audit committee. When that issue came up the very first week, we addressed the exceptional pay and we addressed the CPA requirement. All of that was taken care of within the first 2 weeks of my employment. I was approved for the exceptional pay, and I was advised I should just go ahead and start studying for the exam. I would be okay. They felt it should be maybe 2 years instead of the 1. It wasn't a big issue. The issue came about when, like I said, when Mr. Lapine took it upon himself to extend the probationary period, in which the audit committee did not sign off on. And so when I was advised by civil service that I needed to have an outside ruling, I have the ruling from the Attorney General that states that the council and the administration is independent of the internal auditor, and only the audit committee is the sole head and authority of this department.
I will concur with that statement. That actually is in the charter. But Ms. Daisy, rest assured, we're going to work with you and we're going to get everything resolved and corrected as it should be.
Thank you.
Is there anything else to come before this audit committee? Mr. Edgecombe?
I'd just like to commend Ms. Daisy on a job very well done by yourself.
Thank you.
Great.
Just real quick before we close out, Ms. Daisy, one of the gentlemen, maybe Mr. Lawrence, mentioned about a staff. She does have an outline or organizational chart of how she would like her department staffed. We do have funding that I was able to keep in the budget during the last 3 days of the budget hearings. And we do have a position, and I believe you have a candidate potentially selected as the assistant internal auditor. And let's make sure we get that position filled. And then as the year goes and money becomes available, we may be able to refund the other positions that were actually taken out early in the year. So thank you for moving that forward.
Thank you.
Anything else from the committee? Oh, Ms. Salvan, Councilwoman Salvan.
Yes, good morning. I'm in awe of Ms. Daisy's comment, and the thought that comes to mind, if Mr. Lapine overstepped, it appeared that he overstepped his bounds by taking action without an authorization by the audit committee. I mean, you would think that a veteran council member would know that his boundaries, so I'm just asking that this committee just act swiftly and not delay the process, too much longer. In other words, I'm asking for you all to be expedient in this manner, because I think some injustices have been done thus far, and I think we need to go about correcting it. Thank you.
Absolutely. With that being no more comments or questions, I'll make a motion to adjourn. Second by Mr. Juneau.
Councilmember Juneau? Councilmember Burt?
Yes.
And Councilmember Williams?
We're adjourned at 11:52. Thank you very much.